The views and opinions expressed in this video are solely those of the Fat Bearded Vinyl Guy and should not be taken seriously by sane people. Greetings, music fans. I am Matt, the Fat Bearded Vinyl Guy, and I am hanging out in the vinyl lair. Welcome to the final Too Late Record Review. I'm going to be retiring the Too Late Record Review name, and all of my record reviews from now on will be under the World's Worst Record Review banner after this video. I reserved the Too Late Record Review title for the albums that I've been listening to for at least 20 years. I felt it was a cool name, but since I've been expanding my musical tastes lately, I've been wanting to talk about the more recent additions instead of the more established records in my collection. So for the last Too Late Record Review, I'm talking about a record that I've done a teaser video previously, as well as talking about on the Ridiculous Rock Record Review podcast a couple months back. And I will leave links in the description for both the other video of mine as well as the podcast episode and the R4 Podcast Facebook page as well. It was a fun time, but a slight content warning. My language and references on the podcast are more risque than my videos usually are. That said, Aaron Martell, if you're watching, I'm always willing to come back on. Message me. The album in question today is Pyromania by Def Leppard. Now, I'm not going to rehash what I mentioned in my previous video or what I mentioned on the R4 podcast, but I do have some unused notes that didn't fit in the podcast discussion, so I'm going to drop them on you here instead. Strangely enough, they're all about guitarist Phil Collen. First off, this is the first Def Leppard album that Phil Collen appeared on. Founding member Pete Willis was dismissed from the band because his drinking was getting out of control. Excuse me. Phil was playing in the band Girl. They were a mix of the new wave of British heavy metal and kind of a proto-glam rock, complete with makeup and high heels. Think of a tamer version of the New York Dolls. In his book, Phil says that the Def Leppard guys showed up to what would be his last gig with Girl. Phil says he was semi-drunk, whatever that means, but Joe Elliott goes on record saying he was, quote, shit-faced, unquote. Being a man myself that also underestimates his own levels of intoxication, I'm inclined to believe Joe slightly more. That night, Phil went into full show-off mode, playing behind his back, behind his head, trying to put even Jimi Hendrix to shame. The band realized that if he could play that way drunk, think of what he could do sober. Next, before Phil Collen joined Def Leppard, he was almost an Iron Maiden. No, I'm serious. In late 1980, guitarist Dennis Stratton left Iron Maiden, and singer Paul Di'Anno spoke to Phil Collen about joining Maiden. But unfortunately, that's as far as it went, because the band brought on Adrian Smith, and that eventually turned out well for all involved. In an odd twist, however, Adrian left Iron Maiden in 1990, and in 91, Def Leppard was looking to replace the late Steve Clark. Don't get ahead of me here. Adrian Smith was on the short list of names to replace the dearly departed, but in the end, they went with Vivian Campbell. Adrian Smith returned to Iron Maiden in 1999, and once again, everything worked out for all involved. But it does kind of make you wonder what Iron Maiden would sound like with Phil Collen, and what Def Leppard would sound like with Adrian Smith. It's one of those what-if moments. Now, since these fun facts were about Phil Collen, it might come off like I'm some sort of Phil Collen fanboy. Not really. In fact, the more I learn about Phil Collen, the less I like him. I mentioned before that I read his book. It's called Adrenalized: Life, Def Leppard, and Beyond. It's an interesting read. Not stellar, but interesting. He started losing me when he would mention that he was with this girl, but then started dating this other girl. He was married to this girl and got that girl pregnant. Other girl, reading that happening a few times kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth. Then I was watching something on YouTube where Nikki Sixx, when he had his radio show, he did a video where he would bring different guitarists in, talk about their favorite riffs. I even think it was called my favorite riffs. Phil Collen actually threw shade at Eric Clapton because he doesn't try to develop his guitar technique. Sorry, guy, but Eric Clapton does not need to develop his guitar technique because he's Eric fucking Clapton. Sorry about the F-bomb there, kids. But for me, the straw that broke the camel's back was the most recent album from Tesla called Shock. Phil Collen produced this record, and when it was announced, I was excited. I loved Tesla back in the 90s, and I wanted to hear some new stuff. I put it on, and to my ears, Tesla made the new Def Leppard album. In addition to producing the record, Mr. Collen also had playing and writing credits on all 12 tracks. But I don't want this video to be a complaint session. Pyromania. Yeah, I am talking about Pyromania, by the way. This is a pivotal album in my musical development. I still enjoy listening to it. Once again, I will leave links in the description to my previous Pyromania video, as well as the Ridiculous Rock Record Review podcast starring this guy. FatBeardedVinylGuy.com is the website. I have links to the social medias. Like and share. Subscribe here, click the bell for notifications, and leave a comment below with your thoughts and memories on Pyromania. Until next time, take it easy, and I'll catch you on the B-side.